In a world of glitz and glam, flashing lights and screaming fans, most people are unaware of the war that rages behind the scenes. And that war includes your favorite artist and your favorite songs. This is The Dark Side of Songwriting. Hosted by Nayim Edwards.
Welcome to The Dark Side of Songwriting. My name is Nayim Edwards and I am your host. Today I want to kick something off within this show. I've been wanting to get to this, but you know, the bullshit come. And it's kind of a series within the series about the drug problem within music. And we'll go case by case and we'll look at people's individual stories. But like, I've lived quite a few places in my adult life. You know, United States, obviously. You know, I lived in Boston. I lived in St. Louis, Canada. I've been all over Central America. I've been all over, you know, South America and stuff. You know, one thing you come to understand when you are entrenched and not just living in like other countries and living in other cultures, but you know, living around diverse people, whether you want to live there or be around them or not, is we all have one thing in common, and that is the music. Everybody loves music. Every culture, whether it, you know, be different or you like another culture's music or whatever, we all love music. We all, you know, that's just the common, that's like really like the only thing we all really have in common, aside from being human, is that every culture, everybody loves music. You know, when you die, when a culture goes extinct or whatever the case may be, all they leave behind is art, whatever kind of art they had. And that's where the word artifacts come from. When the Mayans, you know, left, they left behind relics and artifacts and calendars and all that shit. The same thing with anything. When eras die, the only thing you're gonna be really remembered for is your music, and it's the same thing in the modern day times. You're only gonna be remembered for whatever art you left behind. Nobody might not remember the little intricate details of your life. Nobody's gonna remember, you know, whatever little league team you might have sponsored or whatever, you know. No disrespect to nobody doing none of that, but that is not going to be remembered. It's going to be the art you leave behind. So what the fuck am I talking about? We're just kicking it off. We're having a conversation today because another thing that we have in common is everybody loves drugs. You know, art is the one thing we have in common, but drugs is the only other thing we really have in common, aside from like sex and stuff. Like, everybody loves drugs. Everybody loves to get high. And we're talking about within the music culture. I mean, cultures too, because every culture has, there is not one culture on this planet that does not have some type of drug problem at this point. And that's just being 100% real about it. I feel like my voice sound weird, but I did just, you know, I went to the gym today, had a crazy, you know, cardio situation, so maybe my lungs are just a little bit more open, whatever. And I had a good ass, nice hot shower, so whatever. That's neither here nor there. You know, we all got drugs, sex, and music in common. Maybe you can throw love in there as a fourth. And depending on, really, drugs is number one because addiction is so heavy. Drugs and music kind of go together. Ever since the beginning of music, it's always been some type of marriage between drugs and music. And I actually, Jesus, there's a fucking sticker stuck to it. I'm glad this shit is vinyl. I got this book. I've had this book since high school. One of my, what in the fuck is this? Get off of me. Paper. I've had this book. It's called The Heroin Diaries. Year in the Life of a Shadow Rock Star by Nikki Sixx. From 6 a.m. is like the spinoff band, but it's Motley Crue. In this book in particular, this is like one of the reasons I wanted to kick this series within the show off, is because there's a passage in this book. I don't remember the exact page, and we'll obviously come back to, because I actually thought about titling this what I'm about to say, but I realized this book in itself, and this movie, I think it was a movie, no, this book, the soundtrack, this man and just his bands and stuff in itself, they need their own episode. But there's a passage in this book where he talked about how all his veins had collapsed, and he was trying to find a vein so he can get high, and he couldn't find a vein so he can get high. So he pulled his dick out, and he found the vein on his dick and shot heroin up in his dick. And that's what made me realize, like, I mean, I wanted to, because obviously, you know, we talk about a lot of hip hop, a lot of black stuff, a lot of whatever, but it's like, I know so much about so many other situations. Again, like, I've read this book a couple of times, like throughout my childhood, and I'm gonna run back over this probably 10 years later now. And the way it's formatted is so dope. It's really a diary, like entries and everything, you know, whatever. And it just made me realize, like, I need to get up here and speak, because, like, the dark side of songwriting is not just, oh, this song sounds this way, this song sounds that way. You know, the dark side of songwriting is the things in people's individual lives absolutely play a part into what's going into these songs. Motley Crue, if you don't know, they're a legendary group. You know, they're up there with the Rolling Stones and the Red Hot Chili Peppers and you know, all of those type of people. Just some popular names that you might know if you're not familiar with that side of music. You know what I'm saying? It's just like the common thread everybody has had in a lot of the downside and the dark side of music is drugs and violence. And a lot of times you're not going to get one without the other. A big problem we have in music is people can't kick their addictions long enough to live to ride off into the sunset. You know, you think about DMX, Whitney Houston, you know, Michael Jackson, Prince, or whatever. You know, you think about those. It's so many other people and so many other situations. Even the 27 Club, we're going to dive into that. We might actually start with the 27 Club, you know. We have a problem in music in general. Not just hip hop, rock music, all these country music with the domestic violence. There's so many different terrible things that happen behind the scenes that produce these beautiful moments, that produce these beautiful sound bites, that produce these moments in time where, you know, you listening to it as a consumer, or you listening to it as somebody who's just not into whatever is being said on the song, and you don't even realize, like, you know, with this motherfucker right here, Nikki Sixx, you know, 6 a.m. got a song called Life is Beautiful. And it's pretty direct and it's pretty straightforward, but it's just like, if I did, you could judge this book by the cover, but if I told you, you know, open the book up and you read some of this stuff, like, this is a person keeping track of their addiction and trying to get off their addiction and fighting their demon. It's such a roller coaster ride, you know. But the song that came out of it, like I said, he was looking for a vein and he couldn't find a vein, so he shot up in his dick so he was so pressed to get high. His addiction had consumed him to the point where I am willing to get high no matter what. And like I said, we'll do a more in-depth deep dive whenever we get to him, because this is something that's going to transcend genres. And we might do one strictly on violence. We're gonna have to. We're gonna have to do drugs. We're gonna have to do violence. We're gonna have to do every little individual thing that comes from that makes up these beautiful songs and these beautiful things that everybody loves, that everybody has in common. And it's not just here. We can go overseas with it. There's so many different places. I just wanted to share that because I'm thinking now it's just like I was gonna do him, but I want to wait a little further in because I do want to reread this because it's going to be a lot we'll be able to take out of this and talk about. Thank y'all for rocking with me. Let's get started. Let's get to work. My name is Nayim and I am your host. This is the Dark Side of Songwriting, and I'm going to holla at you.